Well, welcome everyone to our third Lumberjack Family Chat entitled Living and Thriving at NAU. I am Ben Carver, Director of First Year Experience here at NAU, and real excited to see you all here today, this evening, and happy to see so many of you here. And we've got a great lineup of panelists today to cover some of your burning questions and to give you some of that key information you'll need for you and your student to kind of have that seamless transition, right, as you begin your NAU journey here. So thank you for joining, and we're going to see if the reaction feature in this webinar works or not. So if you can, in the chat, go ahead and react. How excited are you to start with your student here at NAU? All right, I'm seeing some good reactions there. All right, I see some hearts. That's what I like to see. Great, great. Well, it's awesome to have all of you here this evening. Just a little bit about the format. We are going to have 3 panelists with us here today, this evening, and we have pre-selected a bunch of questions that they're going to answer. Many of these questions, well, all of them actually are based on feedback that you provided us. And we find that when families and students are interacting with us, there's often a lot of overlap. Like if you have that question, oftentimes a lot of people have the same one. So we're going to kind of address your questions in that manner. And you can also put your questions in the Q&A, and we have folks in the background, experts in the background, who will be answering those for you. So with that said, I think we're going to go ahead and get started here. As I already said, I'm Ben Carver, the Director of First Year Experience. One of the things we do in my department is we run new student onboarding. So here at NAU, we call orientation onboarding, and that's kind of to reflect this sort of hybrid nature of what we offer. And a big part of that is our onboarding course for new students, entitled Onboarding for New Students. And would really encourage your student to check out that course. They should have received probably like half a dozen emails at this point about that course. That course is going to answer a lot of their questions about, you know, getting connected socially, getting connected with resources, how to get your JAX card, how to get a parking pass, you know, dining, all these sorts of things. And we're going to dive more deeply into some of that today, but the course is a great way, great way to get started with all of that. This is, as I already said, this is our 3rd chat, but we have one more coming up in September to look forward to. And then also want to mention as well that we're going to have a whole suite of Welcome Week events for your student. And so in addition to that online course, we have those in-person events that are going to be available. So you could check out the Welcome Week website for full details on that. So yeah, today we're going to hear from the Lumberjack CoLAB Center. We're going to hear from Campus Living. We're going to hear from Campus Dining. And yeah, I'm excited to get started with all of that. Before we get into the Q&A though, we're going to hear a little bit from each of those presenters. And so I'm going to start off with Michelle Gardner and the CoLAB Center.
I'm really excited to be here. My name's Michelle Gardner, and I'm a co-director of the Lumberjack CoLAB Center. I actually am an alumna of NAU. I graduated in 2008, and I loved it so much that I've been working here for 14 years now because I've always, NAU has a special place in my heart. So, and I think it is perfect that I get to oversee this wonderful center that is completely dedicated to helping your student thrive at NAU. And you might be wondering, what does CoLAB even mean? So CoLAB stands for Community, Leadership, Alliances, and Belonging. So we really are like a powerhouse for helping your students find community at NAU. So whether they're looking to get involved, to build their leadership skills, we partner very heavily with our career development office to help your students articulate what they're learning by being an involved student onto their resumes and cover letters. We're really a powerhouse shop for being able to help your students develop skills, but of course, find friends, because wanting to find a sense of belonging and find community is an instant need for all of us, and let alone for new students at a university. Some highlights of things coming up. Some of you might already have students who are coming to our EDGE leadership program. So EDGE registration is closed because we actually have more students who we have reached capacity. We can't fit anyone else, which is a great, wonderful thing. But the EDGE leadership program is August 17th to the 20th. And that is a program just for first year students to really help them get started with learning leadership skills and learning about getting plugged into campus. We also have 2 club fairs. So our office oversees all of the student organizations and Greek life. And we have 2 club fairs on the 23rd and the 2nd, and they will be inundated with communications about this, along with other Welcome Week events. But great opportunity for your students to see what clubs we have out there, to ask them questions, to kind of find their niche. There really is a club for everybody, from academic-based clubs that really complement what they're learning in the classroom, to sport clubs, to cultural clubs. We really have quite a breadth of student organizations and Greek life for students to get plugged into. And if 350 clubs is, they can't find the one for them, all clubs are student run, student led. So they can start and imagine whatever they'd like, and we will help them make it happen. We know that students who get involved do better here. They're more likely to stay in school, more likely to have a higher GPA, and just more likely to enjoy being a college student. So we just can't recommend getting plugged in as soon as they get here. Another area of our office is we oversee ASNAU, which is our undergraduate and graduate student government. So it's really having a representative for your students to go to, and they really are the student voice on campus. And they have many, many resources, financial resources. I'm just a wide array of resources for students to learn about and get plugged into. So that's a little bit about CoLAB, but thanks for having me.
Thank you, Michelle, and we'll hear more from Michelle on the CoLAB Center as we move along here. Next, we're going to hear from Alicia Wojtek and Campus Living.
Hi, good evening, everyone. As Ben said, my name is Alicia Stewart-Wojtek. I serve as the Associate Vice President for Campus Living here at NAU, and I've been here at NAU for 32 years, including as a parent of a former and a upcoming student. So I can also relate on those areas as well. But we're so excited to welcome you to campus next month. And so I want to talk a little bit about getting move-in ready, because I'm sure that's what's on your mind. So definitely visit our fall 2026 move-in webpage for the moving calendar, a link to their what to bring and not to bring list, packing tips, etc. So there's a QR code there. You can visit that website, and that will give you some of those details. You'll be receiving an email. Your student will be receiving an email by the beginning of August, and that will be the invitation to go back into the housing portal to select your 40-minute move-in appointment. So trust us, it does work. We do staggered move-in to help with traffic flow. We've been doing it for many years, and it works. And we have most of our students arrive within their time. Just know, don't worry, like AZ 511 is definitely a resource. We know when there's traffic jams or something happens. So our best advice is just, start with the day that you want to come. The 40 minutes will definitely help everyone with the traffic flow. And on the moving calendar, there is a notation for when we have welcome jacks available. Welcome jacks are upper division students who help you move in and welcome you. There's a picture right there with a big laundry bins, those blue carts that we call them, with a nice smiling face on the front, both on the people and on the carts. And so they will help you move your things into your building. So what to expect. So at the beginning of August, you'll get your move-in mailer that will include that invitation to select your move-in time. And then about a week before move-in, we'll send you some more information with details, including some real specific directions to your building and to your unloading zone. We note, we know some people will put in directions into like Google Maps or something like that, but we recommend you follow the directions, specific directions to your building for the smoothest arrival. And then 24 hours before your appointment, you'll get kind of a reminder email with kind of final reminders just to keep you kind of on track. So it's very smooth. It works every year. So we're excited to have you join us. In terms of roommates, you'll find your roommate details on the application status page in the housing portal. So go back into your housing application. We get some questions about when will I hear from my roommate or when will they respond. We really encourage everyone to encourage your students, if you're a student or if you're a parent of a student, to check your NAU email, because that's where also that communication happens. And so sometimes you'll have one roommate reach out and they haven't heard anything back, but that's because the other roommate hasn't been checking their email. So we try to get as many people into your NAU email because you might have a message waiting for you. And then that's where you would also work to, reach out. And there's a link in the housing portal for how to communicate with your roommates. We have a roommate success guide on our website that's helpful with communication tips. We do see in our surveys each year that students who have the highest roommate satisfaction are those who communicate the most. And so there is a correlation there. So we definitely encourage you to talk regularly. And a great conversation starter, if you don't know where to begin, is what are you planning to bring? So you're not bringing duplicates of maybe big items. So make sure you check out the webpage that has your campus living community. That's the building you live in. And that will include room and building features, virtual tours, floor plans, and it'll include, all the things that come with the room. It's furnished. All rooms have a refrigerator with a separate freezer compartment, so you don't need to worry about that. Common questions about microwaves. Yes, you can bring in a small microwave of 700 watts, but that's where a good communication with your roommate, so you're not bringing two, as an example. But then we also do have kitchens in all of our buildings as well to, if you want to go make popcorn or something like that. So lots of things there. That what to bring list is really helpful, and please pay attention to the what not to bring, because most of those are really about safety. So like fire, life safety and those kind of things. So it's important to take a look at those as well. We get questions sometimes about mailing address. So when NAU Postal Services, once they assign those boxes, you'll see those in the housing portal. And I did make a note to make sure that you address your mail and packages correctly. If you go to the NAU Postal Services website, they have a whole section on addressing mail. So that's really important to make sure that your mail and packages are going there. They'll go centrally to NAU Postal Services. So that's where you'll pick up your mail when you live on campus in the NAU managed communities. And then finally, we'll be posting housing rent charges here shortly into Louis. This is about mid-July, so we're right around that time. We're getting ready to be posting those charges. And then you've already paid, if you've paid your housing rent confirmation payment, that went towards your first payment. So you'll see the balance of that first payment coming up. And then after that, September 15th and October 15th will be your two remaining payments for the semester. And then at the end of fall, we'll post the spring charges and again, automatically break those into 3 payments. And just a reminder that rent already includes all your utilities, your internet, and unlimited laundry. So just a good reminder to get to know how to do your laundry if you haven't done that before. That is a great tip. So I will wrap up on that and then we'll be back for questions. But we're super excited to see you next month.
Wonderful. Thank you, Alicia, for those helpful tips and tidbits about campus living. Next up, we're going to hear from Amy Hartfield about campus dining.
Hi, everybody. My name is Amy Hartfield. I'm the Director of Marketing for NAU Campus Dining. I'm super excited to be here this evening to chat with you about food, which is one of my favorite things to talk about. So I know you've got a lot going on and a lot of things that you're thinking about. I'm here to remind you to not forget about eating while you're on campus. So the first thing that you're going to do is choose your plan. You may have already done that if you've been in the housing portal and selected housing. You still have time to make changes after we talk about this. If you decide you want to switch it up, feel free to do so. If you're a first-year student, then you are required to have either one of our unlimited weekly or blended plans. I'm going to say more about that in just a minute. If you're not living on campus, we have a commuter trio and we have some options for off campus as well. All of our plans are combined with what we call dining dollars. So these kind of work like cash on campus, or like a debit card, except that you are saving 11% on sales tax. So always a good tip to remember to use your dining dollars in lieu of pulling out a check card. The dining dollars carry over from fall to spring, but then they expire at the end of the spring semester. We will remind you in March to start using your dining dollars if you have not used them yet, and we will have lots of great ways for you to use them. So what we've got on campus, where to eat. We have 2 dining halls on campus, one on North Campus and one on South Campus. So you're never going to be too far from food. These are all you care to eat locations. All of them have allergy friendly options. One of our main platforms within the dining halls is Simple Servings. This is a specially designed platform that excludes the top 9 major allergens, like the big 9. So it's always a safe place to eat if you're worried about what you're eating and have to be concerned about allergies. So we work really hard to make sure that you have safe options, that you have a variety of options. In addition to the 2 dining halls, we have what we call our retail locations. So these are Starbucks, Jamba Juice, Einstein Bros, places like Subway, Qdoba, places like that where it's more like a restaurant and less like a traditional dining hall. And you can use your meal swipes as well as your dining dollars at those locations. Where you can sign up is in your self-service portal. Right now, like I said, you're welcome to make changes if you've already selected a plan, or you can add to your plan within the first 2 weeks, or the self-service portal will close, but we also have a meal plan office on campus. It's in the student union. And you are welcome to stop by between the time that the self-service portal closes and the first 2 weeks of classes. You're welcome to stop by and make changes to your meal plan. After those first 2 weeks, which we kind of call your trial period, we will still obviously work with you if you have some needs that aren't being met, or you'd like to make some changes. We're there to support you and make sure that your student and all while you're here on campus, that you have lots of great options and can stay healthy. My biggest tips for dining is like I mentioned, the first 2 weeks. So I know there's a lot coming at you the first 2 weeks. Make sure your student, or if you are the student, make sure that you are visiting both dining halls is my first tip. And then don't forget to eat for sure, so that you can determine whether or not your meal plan, the meal plan that you've chosen, is the right one for you. So carve out time to eat in those first 2 weeks. And then during the semester, keep an eye out for our special event menus. We have several. We do a number of cultural heritage events where our chefs get together and they just create the most amazing menus for you in the dining hall. So looking forward to seeing all of you at all of our dining halls. And welcome to NAU.
Wonderful. Thank you, Amy. And let's give our panelists a reaction. Thank them for these key pieces of information. Here we go. There's some thumbs up, some clapping. Thank you. Great to hear from these folks. There's just a few other things I wanted to highlight real quickly before we move on to the Q&A. Just some important dates. For example, parking permits are going on sale early August. August 17th, fall tuition is going to be coming due. Move-in is starting the week of August 19th. I'm not going to go through all of these, but would encourage you to just take note of these key dates coming up as your student begins, their journey to NAU. And of course, you can always scan that QR code and get this information that way too, or take a picture of your screen. So that's a good option as well. Okay, so here are our panelists once again. I have a couple reminders about how this will work. Again, we have some pre-selected questions that we're going to have our wonderful representatives answer. But if you have a question, you can go ahead and put that in the Q&A. So you have to click the Q&A button at the top of your screen in order to ask our folks, our experts, a question. So definitely recommend that you do that so you can get an answer to your specific concern. I think we'll address a lot of folks' questions through the Q&A, these pre-selected questions. But click on that Q&A at the top of your screen if you want to ask a particular question. Okay. And the other thing I would say too is you can always reach out to us via email if you have something that doesn't get answered today or you think of something later. You can see our panelists here have their emails up there. So if you're like, boy, what are some of these heritage, meals? When are those things going to be happening? Go ahead and email Amy there at dining@nau.edu. And or maybe you're wondering about, hey, what's the specific furniture that's going to be in McConnell? You could give that send that question over to Campus Living. I think that's also on their website, by the way. But anyway, okay. Well, with that, I think we are going to go ahead and move on to our question portion. Again, if you have a question, put it up in that Q&A section using that Q&A button at the top of your screen. Okay, well, let's get the ball rolling here. And our first question is actually for Michelle. So, Michelle, our question is, what NAU resources are available to students who are struggling with leaving home, nervous about building relationships, and perhaps feeling scared? So college is a big transition. So what resources are available for those students?
I would start off by saying that is 100% normal to feel that way. So just to normalize that, that's wouldn't be unique to one student. Many students are feeling that exact same way. I think even non-first year students sometimes feel that way because they, had the summer off and are coming back and nervous about their new schedule. But please know, I think every employee at NAU is dedicated to making sure your student thrives here and that they feel seen here and valued here, and that every single person wants your student to do well here, which means I would say all of us are the resources for your student. But to be more specific, we have a very amazing counseling staff, and students have access to individual to group counseling if it really is, they can utilize that at any point, but especially if they're really struggling. Their faculty are dedicated to helping connect them to resources. We have a care center that's also meant to work with students who are struggling to adjust or to find the kind of their place at NAU. Or maybe they have a personal matter that they're dealing with and they just need additional help because going to class is hard. Of course, the CoLAB Center, any student who comes in, any student who comes into those offices will be met with either a student staff or a professional staff to help them figure out how they can find community at the university. If they're living on campus, they have access to community assistants on their floors who are dedicated students who want to make sure that your students feel connected and valued at the university. I can keep going. There are so many. I think the hardest thing is saying you need help, but literally that's why we all are in our careers. So as much as you can help your student to just say, hey, I need help with whatever it might be, I guarantee you we can all get them connected to wherever they need to go, because that's why we're in the careers that we're in.
Wonderful. Well said, Michelle. Thank you for all of that. Our next question is going to go to Alicia. So we're going to switch gears a little bit, talk about something a little more process oriented. So the question, we got a number of questions from parents about how can students check where they are at in the housing application process so they can complete any next steps? And what if a student hasn't applied yet? So Alicia, maybe you can work through some of that process with us.
Yeah, definitely. You can log back into the housing portal and go to your housing application. And there's always an application status page in your application. And that will always tell you what you've completed and then any next steps. So for those who applied, over the course of the year, you've likely have completed everything. If you're just recently applying, you'll kind of see information. Right now, everyone who applied, before June had gone through like room selection. If you're applying now, the application is still open, so you can still apply. It's not too late. And we're actively working on assigning those students who've applied, more recently. So we'll continue to be assigning students to those spaces, and then you'll see your room assignment and your roommate information if a roommate's been assigned yet to that other bed space in the housing portal. So you can always look, and that's a great place to go to just kind of check on things of where you're at. So, and again, we'll keep the housing application open as long as we anticipate space. So of course, we always say the sooner the better, just to get yourself situated. And if you have any questions that's holding you back from doing that, just give us a call or email us, and we'll be happy to walk you through that to help you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Alicia. Our next question is food related. What is the difference between meals and dining dollars? And then secondly, if my student doesn't use all of their dining dollars, do they roll over, Amy?
That is a great question, one that we hear often. So I find it easiest to understand if I explain the process. So when you get a meal plan, you have a certain number of meals. I'm going to use a weekly meal plan as the example. So if you have 14 meals a week, when your student enters the dining hall, they will swipe and now they have 13 meals for that week, right? So meals are used as, we call them swipes sometimes. They're used in the resident dining halls mainly. And then dining dollars are like debit. Like, I mean, you could think of them like cash on a card. The only difference is that you would not be charged sales tax. So those dining dollars can really be used like at any of our dining locations on campus, in any way, shape, or form. But if you have meals, then you use those when you enter the dining hall rather than dining dollars, because you have the meals to use, so you should use them. I'm going to say a little bit about transfers here too, because the meals aren't only redeemed in the dining halls. Students can also use them at our retail locations for what we will call transfers. And when they approach Einstein's, for example, there'll be a little card there that tells them what their transfer meal option, and it's usually something that's sort of a whole meal, right? So it would be like a sandwich and a side and a drink, and it all comes together, and they can use one of their meal swipes. So they go in the dining hall, they swipe for a meal, now they've got 13. They go to Einstein's and they use a transfer, now they've got 12. So that's that's the best way that I know to explain that. Hopefully that helped.
Yes, certainly. Thank you, Amy, for that information. We're going to kick it back over to Michelle for another question related to sort of finding belonging on campus. So some of the parents that responded to our questionnaire expressed feeling nervous about their student finding community at NAU since they may be far from home. So yeah, what are some different ways that students can build community here at NAU?
I'll use a little just from personal experience. I came from Southern California. I knew absolutely no one when I came to NAU. I lived in Cowden Hall for 3 years, would have been 4, but my sister moved here. But the thing that helped me find community was first of all, I got connected to my roommate, but then I was invited to one student organization meeting, and it was called the New Student Government, which still exists today. And I went to that. And I went to that meeting, and then I probably went on the deep end and gotten like too involved in because and so I just really cannot. I just want to emphasize the importance of getting out of your getting on campus, walking around, and going to club meetings. Many of your students will be invited to have a peer mentor as well, which I also can't emphasize enough. And those are students who have experience at the university and can help them with resources, but as well as they're oftentimes involved themselves, and so might recommend certain clubs too. But I mean, there are clubs dedicated to people who we have a Taylor Swift society for just students who enjoy Taylor Swift. And to me, that is an instant friend group because you all enjoy the same things. And I just can't, I think that is the quickest way, if you will, for them to find community is by going to those student organization meetings. And so again, Taylor Swift, if you're a nursing student, there's a nursing club. So then you can go study with those students. Really, the CoLAB Center is all about helping them find community. And if they really are struggling, then perhaps they just haven't found the club that's for them yet. But we will help them find that, whether it's a Greek chapter or a student organization, or perhaps it's neither of those things. Getting involved can also mean getting a job on campus, and then you have a community of fellow student workers that they can get connected with, or it's becoming a community assistant. There's just many ways to get plugged in, and so I think it's all about just sometimes putting yourself out there, but which is a struggle. It's hard, can be hard, but all those clubs, they're craving people to be involved in those student organizations, so they want students to come to those meetings, and they want students to be the future leaders of those organizations as well. And then if when all else fails too, we also have clubs that are dedicated to whether they speak the same, finding students who have a similar background as them or similar identities as them too. And so then you have people who perhaps speak the same language as you or look like you. And so there's just a lot of ways and organizations that that want your students to find others who they can bond with and be friends with. And that's why in CoLAB aren't the word, we purposefully made community the first word, because that is just so important to us, and not just in our office, but across NAU. And so, so yes, it can be hard, but we all are here to help them find the community that makes sense for them.
Great. Thank you, Michelle. So lots of options out there to get connected and find your community at NAU. Okay, this one's going to go back to Amy about campus dining here. Can parents add money to their students' Jack's card so they have more dining dollars?
Before I answer that, I'm just going to piggyback on Michelle and say that we also host, I mentioned it earlier, but we host a slew of different dining events around campus. Late night breakfast is one that we host during reading week. And I have to say, my personal experience sitting around a table, eating with a group of people is a great way to foster connection, to make friends. The student union is always buzzing with activity. So I just wanted to say that real quick. Plus, we have a student culinary council. So if you're a foodie like me, please email, because you might have an opportunity to be on the Student Culinary Council. So there's that. Back to the dining dollars. Yes, the answer is yes. If you go to the campus dining webpage, when you scroll down, there's an option for you to add dining dollars as a guest. You'll need your student's ID number, but when you click on that link, it'll take you to a portal where you can add dining dollars to their account. It's going to ask you some questions, but it's pretty clear from that link. And then if you have any trouble, you can always email or call our meal plan office and we'll help you.
Wonderful. Thank you for that, Amy. Our next question will be for Alicia. And the question what is the housing rent confirmation payment? What is the housing rent confirmation payment? If my student hasn't paid it can they still get housing on campus?
Yes, they can. So the housing rent confirmation payment, or HRCP for short, is the $175 that goes towards your rent. So it's actually a rent payment, not different than the housing application fee. So that 175 will go towards your first rent payment that's due at the end of August. So that's where you'll see that balance due minus that 175. So generally up until May 15th, that's when that payment is due. And then after, if you apply after May 15th, then it's due within 7 days of your submission of your housing application. And we post it on your Louis account, and then you'll see that due date. That's 7 days from then. So if you apply now, again, you will get that posted to your Louis account. You'll see that 7-day date out, and that's when you pay it. So that confirms that, yes, you're coming, and we'll hold your space. So if we missed that payment, or if you had missed the May payment and we canceled your application after some reminders, we always give some buffer time. We always remind. And then, but once, if we don't see any action, then we'll cancel, just to make sure that we have space for the other students. If that happened to you, you can still reinstate your housing application. So just contact us. You can email the email address that's posted here, call the number, and let us know that you want to reinstate your housing application, and then you'll be right back on track.
Wonderful. Thank you, Alicia. Just a reminder to our attendees, if you want to ask a question, go ahead and throw that in the Q&A, and we have our experts behind the scenes answering those questions for you. Okay. Well, the next one, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to ask all of our panelists to respond to this next question. As I'm sure you are all aware, right, the start of the fall term is just around the corner. It's next month. So we wanted to ask our panelists, what is one thing that new NAU students can do to set themselves up for success and really set themselves up to have a fulfilling first semester at NAU? So yeah, we're going to kick that to all of our panelists. And Alicia, why don't we start with you?
Thank you. Yeah, so what I would recommend for students is, if you're living on campus and you're in your room during the day or the evening, not when you're sleeping, but when you're awake, keep your door open. It's a great informal way to get to know people that are walking by, that are right in your vicinity. That's how we see a lot of great informal conversations starting. A lot of times you might be passing someone else's room and notice a poster or something that they have in their room that you also like, and be like, hey, I love that too. And just start that conversation. Your community assistant, your CA, that is what they're there for. They live right there on the floor, and they help students make connections and get to know each other. And that sense of community and sense of belonging right there in your living environment, in addition to the campus opportunities that Michelle was mentioning. So great way. So keep your door open, talk to, even if you're feeling like intimidated, don't forget that everyone's kind of in the same boat. So you're not the only one feeling that way. So definitely get to know your CA. They can help you connect with other students too, if you're struggling a little bit with that. So.
Great. And Amy, what are your thoughts on this question?
So I have to say again, don't forget to eat. And I only say that because the thing that always hurts my heart the most is when we have students that just like did not have time to use their meal plans. And so we talk to them mid-semester and they haven't really been able to figure out how to use their meal plan. So as you're looking at the class schedule, or as you're helping your student look at their class schedule, make sure you're building in some time for food, and noticing where they're going to be on campus and what dining options are around them, especially if you've got a student that has allergy considerations and dietary considerations. That's something to think about. And then my second one is just invite your friends to go eat with you all the time. Every time you go and eat, invite somebody to go with you. There's a full service restaurant on campus called $18.99. You can use your dining, or your student can use their dining dollars there. It's a super fun place to go and hang with friends. So those are my big tips.
Okay, and I think the last portion here is for Michelle.
All right, I would say walk your class schedule before classes start. Don't let the first day of classes be the first time you're looking for the building. So walk your classes first. And then I would echo, Alicia shared it earlier, but truly, if you don't know how to do your laundry, this is a great time to learn. I dyed all of my white things pink on accident in my first year. So really good time to learn.
Wonderful. So if any of that resonated with you, give us a thumbs up in the reaction here. And I see some of that coming through, so that's good to see. Great. Okay, okay, yeah, exciting times here. Semester is right around the corner. Okay, we're going to move on to a couple more questions here. Want to get to some more around campus living. So the next one's for Alicia. Sharing space can be a big adjustment for many students, especially as somebody new. I know this was certainly a challenge for me as a new student. What are 3 tips for students to make their roommate experience joyful and at least comfortable, Alicia?
Yeah, I'm going to start by saying that I want to tell you that we do kind of regular surveys, an annual big survey about campus living experience, and we have generally a 90% overall roommate satisfaction rate. That's pretty consistent. And so that doesn't mean that 10% aren't having a great time or anything like that, but sometimes you hear about, the harder ones. So we're there to help. So communicate. I mentioned that before. So that's, communicate as much as you can before you arrive, and then communicate regularly when you're living together. So just the best way to do that is to do your roommate agreement together. That will be through the housing portal. We'll send you lots of reminders and students will get a link to do that. That is a great way to set baseline expectations for what you're expecting of each other in the room. And just even like, if one person's like, I want to have a best friend, another person's like, I want to study and I want to kind of have my space. That can be a successful roommate relationship, but it's about talking through those expectations. So we, again, refer to that roommate success guide, but definitely do your roommate agreement. Again, we see a higher roommate satisfaction rate with those who complete that. And then use that first week, welcome week, just to go to events together. As Amy said, go to dinner together. Those are very easy things just to start building those relationships. So I always think of concentric circles, like get yourself kind of situated, get to know your roommate, get to know your floor mates, and kind of build out from there. So that will set you up for success.
Awesome. Thank you, Alicia. Yeah, that roommate agreement, really important. Okay, next up, I have another question for Michelle here. What can you tell us about fraternities and sororities? What types are there? What are the benefits? How can students get connected with fraternities and sororities?
Yeah. So our office oversees 25 social Greek fraternities and sororities. Almost all of them have some sort of national affiliation or national office that they're tied to. However, one was founded right here at NAU. They're called Guppy, Gamma Upsilon Pi, which is really, really cool. Nice pride point. So they are a mixture of traditional based fraternities and sororities. And then we also have 4 culturally based fraternities and sororities as well. All of them are dedicated to service and philanthropy. One of our chapters, Sig Chi, placed second nationally of all the Sigma Chi's out there for how much money they were able to pull in and fundraise for cancer. So really doing incredible work to give back and to fundraise for various philanthropies. Some of the other philanthropies they work with include Make-A-Wish, Ronald McDonald House, etc. And then they all also give back to the community in a variety of ways. And then, of course, cannot be overstated how much community they are building within Greek life. So we have about 1,500-ish students who are involved in our chapters. And recruitment is open right now for sororities, and then it'll be coming really soon for the fraternities and for our cultural fraternities and sororities once they get to campus.
Wonderful. Thank you, Michelle, for that information about fraternities and sororities. Next up, we have another question about campus dining. Amy, can you give us a sense of the different dining options on campus and what options are available for students who have food allergies or food preferences?
This is a great question and also a very common question. So I've mentioned some of the dining options on campus, listed them off. I don't need to list them all off for you, but you can see them all listed on our website. The 2 dining halls that are all you care to eat that each have somewhere around 8 to 10 different what we call platforms. So places that have different menu items where your student can go around and get food as much as their heart's desire while they're in there. And then we have our retail locations. As far as allergies go, I mentioned simple servings, that's in our dining halls, but I will also add that we have a campus dietitian who will often work with meal plan holders directly, especially those that have really sensitive allergies. And it doesn't even have to be really sensitive. If you have an allergy and you need some help finding the right thing for you to eat or places where you can eat, her name is Riley. You can find her information on our website. She will help you. As a meal plan holder, you have access to ask her questions about where your student can dine around campus and eat safely. All of our managers and supervisors are certified in allergy training. So we're all aware of what the big 9 allergens are. We're all aware of, we all have safety protocols in place at all of our dining locations that prevent against cross-contamination. So we're here for you. But if you ever have any additional questions, you can email us or you can reach out to Riley, our dietitian. And disability services too, I think provides quite a lot of support for students around meal plans too.
Wonderful. Thank you for that additional information, Amy. Next question is for Alicia. It's about parking, actually. So how does parking work if my student lives on campus? And what about if my student lives off campus?
Yeah, what I would say, I would start with, really consider whether or not you really need a vehicle before bringing one up. We do see a number of students that come up, park their vehicle, and it collects dust for a while. So there's a lot of easy ways to get around campus. And you're assigned to zones. So you actually do not drive to class. You're not driving from parking lot to parking lot. So biking, I think, is the quickest. The transit system is awesome and also connects with Route 10 on the Mountain Line, which is the Flagstaff bus system. So students ride Route 10 for free. So there's a lot of great ways to get around without your own personal vehicle. If you do decide to bring one, if you live on campus, you'll have a residential zone that you're assigned to. So each building has a zone that's associated, or a group of buildings will have a zone. Or you can buy a garage permit. And if you're off campus, there's 2 commuter lots, north and south, or you can get that the garage permit as well. So the parking services or University Transit Services website has a lot of the details for that, but that's kind of your high level poke at that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Next question is for Amy. What if a student wants to change their dining plan, Amy? What can they do?
That's a great question.
Or when can they do it as well, I
Yeah, so
guess?
I'm going to say again, the first 2 weeks of classes is sort of your trial period. And so that is a great time to make sure that your student is eating, that they've been to both dining halls, that they kind of understand the cadence of their meals and how much they're actually going to eat on campus as they're doing all of their classes and getting involved in all of the organizations that they want to get involved in. At that point, after that 2-week trial period, there's always options to make adjustments. You just have to come in person to our meal plan office, talk to us about it. We may have some suggestions for ways that you can maximize your current meal plan as opposed to changing it. Or we may have some alternative options for you. So that would be my recommendation. First 2 weeks, and then after that, come see us in the meal plan office. We're in the union.
Great, thank you. The next question has to do with clubs and orgs. So Michelle, you've talked about the importance of clubs and orgs, for getting connected, for building that community. We've talked about that a couple times. But how do students join them? How do they find a club and org for them? And what does that process look like?
Yeah, your student can go right now to True Blue Connects is what it's called. That is the hub for all of our clubs. The website's really easy to remember. It's just nau.edu/clubs. So that is where they can search through all of our active student organizations. That list is always updating because new clubs start almost weekly by students. So they can go explore. There's different categories for clubs because, looking through 350 plus is a lot, but they can search for what they're interested in. And then they can reach out immediately. They can reach out now if they'd like to. But of course, once we get rolling with the start of the year, they can attend those club fairs as well and meet many of the clubs in person. Their True Blue Connects profiles for each club shares when their club meetings are. And then it also tells you if they just have open membership, which most of all of them do. However, there's a handful, such as our fraternities and sororities, who have a bit more of a recruitment process. But you're anytime able to reach out to any of those organizations through their True Blue Connects profiles. So nau.edu/clubs, and they can find what they need. And then we have those 2 club fairs that we mentioned during Welcome Week as well.
Great. Thank you, Michelle. So our final question here is for all of the panelists. And the question is, if you had one piece of advice for new NAU families to make the transition smoother for their student, what would that be? And I think we'll start with Amy on this one.
I would say to encourage, I feel like I'm on repeat, but I would say to encourage your student to really venture out in the dining world that is on NAU. There is a lot. There's a lot of places to eat. There's a lot of cool spots to grab some food and go hang out. It's easy to stay really close to the residence hall. It's really easy to stay only in one dining hall. But I would say encourage your student to venture out, go to South Campus, go to North Campus, go into the Union, go to some of our satellite locations, get coffee at Scholars. There's lots of really cool places around campus to eat. So explore them all.
Great. Michelle, what do you think?
I would say for me, don't wait for them to reach out to you. It can mean a lot to just say, hey, to send a text and say, hey, I'm thinking about you. Hope you have a great day. But checking in is really a big deal. Your role really shifts from being that person who manages their life to being their biggest cheerleader and guide and helping them think through decisions. And so it's really kind of I don't know, it's exciting to be able to kind of take a step back and help see what they think about a certain decision that they may have. There will be challenges, but for sure, like every college student ever has had some sort of challenge come up. But knowing that helping them know that you're there to support them and guide them is everything.
Great advice. Alicia, you have kind of the final word here. What's your thoughts on how to make this transition smoother for students?
Okay, I'm going to cheat because I'm going to give some practical and then a little bit more on the emotional side. Practical, you don't need a U-Haul. Okay, so just if you've ordered a U-Haul, you cancel, you don't need to bring a U-Haul. And you can pace yourself. So you don't need a parka or like a puffy jacket on day 1 in August. It's going to be pretty warm and toasty here. So you can always add later, right? Just so you don't want to be coming home with a bunch of stuff that you brought. Think of gas. So anyways, then my other advice is just thinking about, I'm going to build off a little bit of what Michelle said about reaching out. On the flip side, if your student calls you, and if you are that safe space for them to kind of just talk through something they're experiencing, it's not the end of the world, and just, take a deep breath. It's a transition. And so that transition from living at home and seeing you on a regular basis to kind of being on their own, we have a lot of support. And so help remind them that there's resources in place and help them, kind of start to navigate that. That will build those skills as they kind of transition into adulthood, kind of that college experience. So CA right there on your wing is a great resource. All the resources we talked about that Michelle mentioned earlier too are in place for that reason, to help you with that transition. So before you react, just take a deep breath. And sometimes it's just a vent. For a long time, I remember my mom thought I had a horrible college experience. So it was just she was the place I'd be like, ah. And I was like, no, I absolutely loved it. So that was what I would say. And then just, I've seen a couple things. I know there's people answering the chats, but I just want to remind you, on the move-in appointments, there's like tons more than needed. So you will get the day that you want. So don't fret about that. Many more appointments available than actually, needed. So you can get that date and focus in on that. But if you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out. That's my parting thought would be, we're here to help. And we are partners in with your students, right? We want with you and your students' success. So we're all here to help.
Great. Thank you, Alicia. Well, we've had loads of great advice and information from our panelists here. Some real gems for you all to kind of ponder and think about when supporting your students and getting them ready for their journey here at NAU. Let's give our panelists a round of applause. So thank you to all three of you for that. That was wonderful. There we go. I see all the clapping hands now. Great to see. Well, we're going to wrap up things here. Just a couple of quick announcements before I let you go. First off, after this chat ends, we're going to have some representatives from Veterans and Military Services to talk with families and students who may be military affiliated. So if you have questions about that, we will welcome those folks onto this call here in just a moment. We hope to see you all at Welcome Week. We've got a great suite of events lined up, from our Welcome Week Festival to Lumberjack Launch to our club fair. So those are all great things to be thinking about. And then we've got one more of these family chats, September 9th. The semester will have already begun, but this one's going to be all about helping your student achieve their full potential by accessing some of the different resources that we have here at NAU. So if you want to check out that final family chat, go ahead and scan the QR code. And thank you all so much for being here. And I hope you got something useful out of this chat. And you can always email us, give us a call, and we'd be happy to provide you with more information. So thank you, everybody. I hope you have a great evening. We're really excited to see your student next month here at NAU. Thanks, everybody. And again, we'll have Pete with Veteran Military Services here if you have questions and want to stick around. Thank you, everybody. Great to see you all.
Good evening, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well this July evening. My name is Pete Yonka, and I serve as the Director for Veteran and Military Services here at NAU. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a couple minutes as folks are logging off. If you are military connected in any way, if you yourself are attending and are military connected, or your student is, please hang on the line and we'll touch base on some details. Okay. All right, looks like a little bit of a pause there. So I'll go ahead and get started. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Greatly appreciate you spending a little bit of time with me to talk about resources available to the military connected community. Again, my name is Pete Yonka. My background is I'm a humble civilian. My dad served in the Army and my brother also served in the Army. So it's been a blessing to be able to serve in this role to support the military connected community. I just want to be fully transparent. I'm going to be working through answering questions in the Q&A and also trying to cover topics. So if I miss something, please don't hesitate to put it back in the chat and make sure I get your question answered. I wanted to take a moment and introduce my awesome staff of Veteran and Military Services. Wanted to introduce Brandon Piestewa. He's one of our certifying officials who helps in a wide range of ways processing ed benefits. Scott Heflin is our Assistant Director of Education Benefits. So not only does he help with certifications, he's the guy who works directly with the VA and the DoD to ensure benefits are in place well with the university. Cici Torres works with us. She is based out of Yuma and works with helping students transition into the university. So a wide range of assistance there. So all those ins and outs of connecting with different departments. William Everett oversees our Veteran Success Center. He's our assistant director, and he helps he actually supervises the team that works directly with you all when you call or email. So great, great team, great resources, and we're here to help. So that's our team. Wanted to share some of the services that are available to the entire military connected community. And so we do have a specific veteran orientation coming up in August, but we also have a wide range of events that take place during the semester. We do a lot of outdoor activities. And these are kind of small scale events where there's anywhere from 10 to 15 folks that go on these events. So anywhere from mountain biking to hikes to just getting involved within this incredible backyard that we call Flagstaff, Arizona. During Veterans Week, we have a series of events where we honor the entire family for all the commitment that it takes to be a part of this community. So definitely stay posted with that. We'll have some information coming up on that. I also encourage you to follow us through Facebook and Instagram. The various events that we're participating in, we share that. So it's a great way to stay connected with what the center is doing and what the department is doing. Every month also, we do eat and greets. What we have found out over the years is that our college students have a healthy appetite at times, and sometimes they get so busy they miss a meal. So what we do is a monthly eat and greet where not only do we invite folks to come in and have some camaraderie with the department, we provide a meal and also connections with different resources. Anywhere from veteran benefits, medical benefits to resources that are available on campus. So we use that time to get some great resources in front of the students as they come in. I know I'm kind of going through this pretty quickly, so please let me know if you have any questions as we go through it.
Pete, I do see a couple questions for you here
Sure.
in the chat, if you'd like to address those now.
That would be great.
Okay, so we have one from Jessica here. If my child's father is a veteran, is she eligible for any scholarships?
So
So
the
if my
grandparent,
child's father is a veteran, is she eligible for any scholarships?
none through specifically from NAU. We don't have one specifically for that. But what I would definitely encourage you to do is there's a ton of national scholarships that aren't necessarily under NAU's umbrella. I know it sounds kind of silly, but I'd definitely do some Google searches on what scholarships might be available. you never know. There could very well be scholarships out there broadly that a particular organization wants to support. So there's a wide range of support for this community, not only within NAU, but broadly. So I definitely encourage you to search.
Great. And Pete, we have one more from Ernest. Does Military Connected include students that were part of a JROTC program?
Great question. When we say military connected community, that includes veterans, active duty, guard, reservists, and the spouses and children of those who have served or currently serving. So it doesn't officially include JROTC, but we're happy to help any student who has an affiliation or how shall I say affinity for the community. So if folks are looking at any kind of assistance, what we can do is connect folks broadly to the university. So the folks that came and did a great job today. We work closely with them and a wide range of people. So it's one of those things, we might not have direct services, but we are happy to help to get folks connected with resources on campus. Great question.
Thank you, Pete.
I do know that there was a question in the chat about chapter 35 and when things are due. I posted in there to give us a call at our center. We can help you and your student walk through. We have what we call a vet pay plan. It's a free pay plan, but getting linked to that will defer payments. So just wanted to share that with you all, that there are some options there. And if you want to give us a call, we can walk you through it directly. So I wanted to make sure that that question got answered. Okay. If you're planning on utilizing the GI Bill, or if you're just not quite sure if you or your student qualifies, there are some steps that I want to encourage you to look into. Vets.gov is a great place to start. The VA will make the determination on whether or not there's any qualifying benefits, but it's a great place to start and start figuring out kind of if you even qualify. So definitely encourage you to do that. And if you're not quite sure, definitely reach out. There's a certificate of eligibility that will be required for that. And I put our office contact information down. That's at nau.edu, and also our direct line right there. I'm hoping you can. Let me ask this question. Probably been a good question to ask before I got started. Can you all see the screen by chance? I'm hoping you can as I'm moving through it. Awesome. Thank you, Norma. Appreciate it. Jessica, awesome. So the certificate of eligibility is the document that highlights what benefit the student will be qualified for and what they're looking at utilizing and how many months of it that are available. I'm throwing out a lot of phrases that might be confusing, so I just want to kind of plant some seeds, and then also our contact for our center to follow up with some specific details on your situation. But basically, if you do qualify and plan to use benefits, this certificate of eligibility, or COE, you'll hear that phrase quite a bit, that'll be provided to the department so that we can help get things up and going. The other key factor that I want to share is that if you're utilizing benefits, or your student is utilizing benefits and you're from out of state, there is an option to pursue for in-state tuition rate that's linked to education benefits. That's something that I want to share because especially if you're utilizing Chapter 35, the in-state tuition rate is extremely helpful. So how to get that in place? Again, there are a few moving parts with that, but definitely contact us to find out more about would you potentially qualify for that rate and how to get it in place. So I just want to share that with you, especially with Chapter 35. It's something you want to follow up on. Okay. And then I talked a little bit about the vet pay plan. So a lot of great questions I saw, and I think 2 questions earlier about, hey, I don't get paid. The VA doesn't pay up front. They pay in the rears of each month. And so how does that work with paying for classes? Well, there is a way to get on what we call the vet pay plan, and that'll defer payments. But payments still need to be made, but it does defer those so that the GI Bill can get sent to you, get that built up, and then payments can be made. Okay. Now, I just want to be fully upfront. I have mad skills in confusing people. So if I'm not making sense, please let me know. When it comes to Chapter 35, that's been a growing chapter of education benefits. And I wanted to share a couple quick things that we have seen cause some challenges for our students. As I'm going through this, please let me know if you have questions. With Chapter 35, some of our students think that part of the money goes to the NAU to pay for their schooling. With Chapter 35, any funding from the VA goes directly to the student or whatever bank account you have set up, and then it's up to the individual to pay the university. So Chapter 35, there isn't money that comes to NAU to apply to your account. So what happens is sometimes students get to November, even into December, and wonder, why aren't my bills paid for? Chapter 35 in particular, you had to pay close attention that when you get those monthly funds, those have to go then to the university to pay for your account. So what we've seen is that folks get, especially that first semester, why do I have so many charges? Well, the funding from 35 needs to go to your account. Any thumbs up if that's making sense? Okay, awesome. Thank you. The next thing I want to share, what jams students up is that every semester, students have to do 2 things to get the GI Bill. They have to register for classes, so that's with an advisor. The second piece is that they have to submit their classes to us. So what happens is that we'll have students, their first semester, as you all are in the throes of it, can be a blur. The classes will get selected, they'll register for their classes, they'll submit their classes to us, and they'll receive benefits. When the time comes to register for the spring, what happens that we've seen regularly is that students will register for the classes and they'll forget that next piece of submitting their classes. Now, what does that submit classes look like? Well, that's where I definitely encourage your student to reach out to the department so they can walk them through exactly how to submit their courses. It's not too difficult, but it's easy to forget, if that makes sense. So every semester, when they register for classes, they've got to submit their classes. That will ensure, to the best of our ability, that the payments from the VA will come on time for the next semester. If they don't submit their classes, they won't receive the GI Bill. So funding for Chapter 35 goes straight to the student, and every semester they have to register for classes and then submit their courses. So those are two key items that we wanted to get out in front of you all to help you with, because again, there's a lot of moving parts. All right, I'm getting some thumbs up. Perfect. One of the things that we've also seen with our military connected community, especially with our dependent students, they might feel like, I shouldn't really come to the Veteran Success Center. I want to say that's absolutely false. If folks want to swing by, we love to have folks come to the center. We actually have a number of student dependents who work on staff, utilizing veteran work study. So it's a place for the entire community. And I want to just say that directly and clearly tonight, that the entire community is welcome. And as you all are coming to campus to visit with your student, we encourage you to come by the center, introduce yourselves. We'd love to say hello. We've got a great staff down there, that great cup of coffee at the ready, and love to catch up with you and also hear any challenges you might be facing. We work really hard on trying to make it a smooth process, but we'll be the first to admit, because of all the changes that happen, sometimes our students get caught in the mix, and hearing directly from you about some of the challenges that you're facing will be helpful for us to provide the better services. So I want to share that with you, that we are extremely open to that and want to make sure that we're up to speed with the student experience. I threw a lot at you. So I'm going to hit pause and see if you had any questions for me. And then I might need to ask for some assistance to make sure I'm looking at the correct screen with the chat.
Yeah, absolutely, Pete. I'm taking a look here and looking at the Q&A. Not seeing any other questions at the moment.
Okay. Awesome. Well, folks, I appreciate you spending some time with me, hearing a little bit more about the department. Looking forward to working with you all and your students, and hope you have a great rest of your summer. So with that, I'll go ahead and peel off. You all have a great evening. And like I said, don't be bashful. Please reach out if you have any questions. We're happy to help. That's why we're here.
Wonderful. Thank you, Pete. Well, we'll wrap it up there. As Pete said, hope you have a great rest of your evening.